All right, let's kick this off. I don't know if now you can hear me a little bit better. So let's start this off. So I'm going to talk about game narrative that asks tough questions. And my name is Jenelius. And I hope that you will leave this room with some new ideas on how you can make your games, well, more maybe mature in their themes, you know, a bit deeper in the narrative. Before I start, I want to give you a tiny trigger warning. I'm going to talk about some heavy subjects, and if you're not comfortable with what I'm talking about, like, I won't take offense if you leave the room or raise your hand and say, like, can you please move on or anything. But first off, who am I? So, as I said, Anna. And apparently we got our first NES when I was 2 years old. So I've been playing digital games since then, so it's like 26 years. And also when I was like 16, I started playing a lot of role-playing games, pen and paper role-playing games. And, you know, wearing stupid beards and stuff. And also I've been writing since I was, I don't know, 8, so I've been writing for 20 years. When I realized I wanted to work with games, I started studying at Stockholm University here in Sweden. And then when it was time for me to start working, I got a job as a QA tester at Paradox, and eventually became an assistant QA manager there. And a good thing about Paradox is that they allowed their employees to have well, projects on the side, like hobby projects. So while working there, I started my first own company, which I called Seriously Interactive. So I'm working on a game that I'm still working on, like 4 years later, which is called Capitals. And also, eventually, I moved internally and ended up at Paradox Development Studio as a senior QA manager there. But I realized after like over 3 years in the industry that, okay, it was time for me to, more people are dropping in. I'm just going to wait for you to sit down, and I'm going to continue. Anyway, so I started feeling like, okay, I wanted to be more creative. I wanted to, especially write, I wanted to work with narrative heavy games. And that didn't really work with, you know, working at Paradox, unfortunately. And also I started looking around in the Swedish games industry, and like, there wasn't really a company that really did the kind of games that I wanted to make. And also I didn't have the portfolio to, you know, transfer to another country. Like the studios that I wanted to work at, you know, they wanted more from their narrative designers, basically. So I thought that, okay, if you want something done, you have to do it yourself. So I quit my job and I started something called Tailcore Studios, which is still what I do 100%. So that was in November last year. And I released my first game now in May of this year, so it's called Midwinter. It's a tiny point-and-click game based on Swedish folklore. You play as a gnome on a farm somewhere in Sweden, and you meet Näcken and Skogsröt and other like fairy tale creatures that are very like from Swedish folklore, basically. But even if this is a pretty like happy-go-lucky, cozy game, still felt while developing it that it wasn't enough just to have like a cozy little point-and-click game. I wanted to have some more meaning to it. So as I continued writing it, I realized, okay, this is actually about like how we work, what is our relationship with nature. So the game has 4 different endings. You can fail, or you can finish the game like on your own as a gnome on a farm, and then you, so to speak, represent the farm and humans. You can also finish the game. You can ask for help from the Skogsrå. She is the protector of the forest, and she can basically finish it for you, or you can do it together with her. So it's about like the best way to finish the game is if you do it together with nature. Humans work with nature. So I kind of snuck in some a moral of that story to the game. And also I realized that, okay, this is going to take place probably like 19th century Sweden, and that was a really tough time. Like 1.3 million people left Sweden because it was pretty shitty here. Like people were dying, they were starving and so on. So people like left and, you know, in crowds. So I really wanted to remind people that this is actually, we haven't been like this wealthy and healthy for very long. I want to remind people of that, especially in this time that we have today. Because that's really what I wanted to make with this company. I want to make narrative-driven games that really makes people think and feel something. So if you compare the games industry with, for example, literature and movies, sure, there are like blockbuster movies, like Transformer movies, and there are like best-selling crime thrillers, so that's fine. And there's absolutely, you know, people who want that, and I really respect that kind of movies and literature. They have a place, absolutely. There are also, like, there's Orwell, and there's Kafka when it comes to literature, and there's also like Schindler's List, and there's, I don't know, Grave of the Fireflies. Apparently all the like heavy movies are about Second World War for some reason. And these sort of movies and literature have really a place as well. And if you compare that to the games industry, I mean, sure, there is like, I don't know, Candy Crush, and there is, what's it called, CS, Counter-Strike. And that's fine, it's totally fine. And there is a crowd, and I respect the people who make them and who play them. But that's not personally the kind of games that I want to make. I personally want to make more of these kinds of games. And on the left here, you see a game called This War Mine. If you haven't played it, you really should. It's about being a civilian in a war. It's kind of inspired by, I think, the Siege of Sarajevo, if I'm correct. And it's a really heavy game. I raged uninstalled this game in the end because, like, as a gamer, like, you want to get better and like you want to beat the game. Like this time, it was what, like my third playthrough. I'm like, no one is gonna die. Everything's gonna be fine. And then one of my people died. Anyway, I was like, this game. I raged uninstalled it, and then I realized that's the point. Like, this is war. You can't win. And it like hit me so hard. Like, that's actually what they want to say, and it was so powerful. And on the right is a game called Papers, Please. I hope if you haven't played it, you should play it as well. In that game you play like a border guard, and you can decide who is allowed into the country and why and so on. And you have to balance like your own personal economy that you used to like feed your family with like your conscience. Like the better job you do, the more money you make, but also a lot of people are going to suffer because of you. So this is the kind of games that I want to play. I won't say that I like playing them because they're really, you know, I had a hard time sleeping after playing them. But I want to play them, and they have a specific place as well, in my opinion. And I don't think I'm alone in this. I think in this industry we have a lot of heart, we have a lot of will, we want to make an impact, and we have ambition. And it's really moving sometimes to see the support that we can offer other people. Like at E3 this year, there were a lot of developers that showed their support for the victims in Orlando, which was really touching, and a lot of people wore like ribbons and everything. It was really, really cool. Like this is from the Ubisoft presentation. But that didn't stop the fact that literally 5 minutes later, it looked like this again. So like I think we have a lot of heart, we have a lot of like, we want to make an impact, but still like 5 minutes later we shoot people in the back again. So like, aren't there any other stories that we can tell that don't involve like shooting people like this, like executing people? And sure, this game, which is Ghost Recon Wildlands, like sure, apparently you like fight a evil crime syndicate and bring it down. It seems really like heavy and like thought through. It seems like a pretty cool game, but it's still about like shooting people, like anonymous people in heaps. So I'm like, can't we tell other stories and in other ways, maybe? And there's nothing wrong about shooter games, absolutely not. I mean, I love to play them as well, but I mean, we have done it so many times and in pretty much the same way. And if we want to make an impact on people, then we have to like reinvent what we are doing and how we are doing it. Like repackaging the same concept only goes so far. And also we have to look at like the tropes that we are using. So, for example, Anita Sarkeesian, think what you like about what she's saying, but she has been very good at pointing out like the tropes that we use in our games. Like really, we can only save the princess so many times before it kind of goes bland. Like, we have to bring something new to our gamers. Like, bring them something worthy of their time and their money. And like using cliches like this is just plain bad writing. So I think that we can do better. Like, we can show that we are a mature industry that has something to say. So let's demonstrate the full power of this industry to ourselves and to everyone around us. And if you're still not convinced of what I'm saying, let's just look at facts. Like, actually, like half of the players are female, and also people are more likely to be over 44 than under, or like teens and children. So like, we can expect our gamers to be emotionally mature. We can actually have mature themes, heavy themes. We can challenge our players more than I think that we do today. So let's use that. And let's like go up in a battle against literature and movies and so on, and show that, yeah, we are also like an art form. We can do what they are doing. And also, like, this is the people that have money, if that's what you're interested in. Like, kids aren't the people with money, these are the people with money. These are the people that we should cater to. Like, emotionally mature people that want something new, something challenging. So now I'm going to move on, and I'm going to look at some themes that you can use in your games, and I'm going to give you some good examples, I think, of what people have been doing over the last few years. So the first one is pretty obvious. Hopefully you've been playing this game as well, The Last of Us. And a topic that I think they did very well, they commented on, is parenthood. So the main character, Joel, it's not really a spoiler, it happens within like 5 minutes. He loses his daughter. And then they comment very much on like his relationship with this other girl that he meets in the game. And like the parental feelings that he develops and so on. And I think that this is actually something that we are touching more and more on in the industry, like parenthood. I think a lot of game developers are actually getting older and getting children themselves, so this is a topic that people want to discuss. So it's really cool to see games like this pop up. But there's more to parenthood than I think that we can talk about than we do today. So this is a game that we game of the year at Swedish Game Awards this year. And I actually haven't played it myself, but apparently it's about the taboo of not actually wanting your child. So we can actually look at stuff like that as well. Like, not just, oh, I'm a mother and I'm happy. What if you're not? Like, look at stuff like that, really heavy stuff. Or how about like fear of pregnancy or an unwanted pregnancy? That's something I've never heard anyone talk about in the game. It would be really cool. Something I also think that Last of Us does really well is loss. As I mentioned, he loses his daughter. And like, how does that affect your like your future, maybe fear or commitment? Like, how does that affect your future relationships? And how do you deal with that? Like, how do you get over a loss like that? Another game that does mature, heavy themes really well, in my opinion, is Life is Strange. That talks about, for example, bullying and suicide. And I think we can do more of that as well, in that region as well. How about maybe a game that helps a victim that's been subject to this, or maybe a victim of sexual assault or anything like that? There's a lot we can do there as well. There are a lot of games recently that have been talking about depression, and mental illness and so on. And we can really help people like understand what they're going through themselves, understand what other people around them are going through. So I think we have a lot of power there as well. Like, because we are an interactive medium and you really can step into, almost literally, into someone else's body and understand them from inside, we have so much power that we can use there. We can look at politics. This game called Democracy. 3, I think, in this case. And it really shows like the hard balance when you try to like, okay, this is what I want to do. Who is going to be happy with that? Who's going to be upset with that? And so on. Like, you realize so it becomes so obvious that you can't really please everyone. So it's a very good simulator of like being someone who is involved with politics. I would actually like to see a game that's more applied than this one. Like you are actually a politician and you have to meet people that have opinions. That would be really cool. And I also would want a game about like corruption. Like you are this visionary, and then people start like, yeah, but if you do this for me, then I can do this for you, and so on. And like in Papers, Please, like you have a family that you have to feed. Like how far are you willing to go to save them? This is from Fable 3. I think they did a pretty good job of showing the hardship of being a leader and like the sacrifices they have to make for a country. But they fell a little bit flat just before the finishing line, unfortunately. Like you realize as you go that the antagonist actually has a good point and like actually wants to protect the people, whereas you thought that he just wanted to, he was just a dick. So more games like that, in my opinion, that would be really cool. So how about like a game about a young politician, and like you're even a revolutionary, and you have all these ideas and all this, this is what I want to make. The country is going to be a so much better place. Then you realize as you go, like, what are the sacrifices that you have to make? Like, how far are you willing to go? Are you willing to sacrifice your friends? If someone comes to you with a bribe, how do you react to that? Maybe people try to assassinate you. How do you react on that? And so on. Like, it would be really cool seeing someone's almost like decay through the politics. Like, how does power change a person? Let's do what this Warmind does really well as well. Let's do that more. Look at like a war, like civilians in war. Because like in the 1970s, modern journalism and media, TV, made it really obvious what actually happens in war for civilians. It was like the first time people, saw what actually happens in war and how terrible it is. And we, as a games medium, we can use the power of, putting people in the face quite literally, as I mentioned earlier, to make people understand and really feel it. Like we can't tell the news, but we can make people understand the news and actually react in another way. How about maybe being a paramedic in war? Like showing that a headshot is not just a headshot. It's not just a score on your screen. It's actually someone being shot in the head. It's really terrible. And a grenade is not just something you throw and like, yeah, that was a good one. It's like actually a young person's life can be, torn apart forever. There was actually, I don't know if you heard the story, there was a guy whose children wanted to play war games a few years ago. He was like, yeah, sure, you can do that, but first we're going to go to Warzone so you can actually see what it's like in war. So they did. I think they went to Israel, and they saw firsthand, like, this is actually what's going on. And when they came back to Sweden, I think, they didn't want to play that kind of games because they actually realized what this is. So I think that we can tell that story in the games. Like, this isn't just fun and games. This is quite terrible. How about post-traumatic stress? We can talk about that as well. Like, how's it like to actually do the things that we do? Like, all our game characters are like psychopaths. It's like, yeah, I killed 200 people today, it's fine. But most people don't feel that way. And also you can get post-traumatic stress from other things, like sexual assault, for example. Like, let's look at the effect on, the effect that kind of stuff has on people. And moving on, more games are about LGBT issues recently. Especially thanks to indie games that can like explore a very small topic or like a very specific topic. But the thing is, like, for example, this is coming out Simulator. This is just literally one person's story. He's telling his story about what it was like when he was coming out. And there are as many stories as there are people with this kind of experiences, and even more because there's people around them. So I think we need more of these kind of stories. Like, this is what it was like for me. I just want to tell you, like, this is how it was for me. I just want to show you one of my personal favorites in that region. This is Coming Out on Top, which is about a guy who comes out and then he starts exploring homosexual relationships for the first time. and it's really cool. It's very not safe for work, just so you know. But it's really cool, like seeing how his friends like react when he tells them and so on. But if you're gonna have LGTB people in your game, don't just have them there because, like, yeah, look, I had someone like that in my game. You don't know. You don't have to just focus on that issue either. But if you're gonna have people like that with that kind of challenge, experience in your game, actually comment on it, in my opinion. Because like, if you are like, for example, a homosexual character in this universe, Mass Effect universe, is that the same thing as being in that universe, like the Witcher universe? I don't know. What is it like for them? I don't know. Or in that universe, what is it like to be homosexual there? Or in fucking Dwarf Fortress? I don't know. It would be cool, like if you have different people with different experiences, challenges, everything in your game. Like, actually comment on that. Like, what's it like? It doesn't always have to be sunshine and rainbows, but at least like tell their story, like see it through their eyes a little bit. There are some games recently looking at trans issues, which is really cool. Too few in my opinion, but it's coming. I think we can do more there as well. And I think that we need more games about racism as well, or against racism. I didn't actually find it. So personally, how I've gone about for the game I'm making right now, when I'm creating my characters, is I started by just first Googling anything even remotely like what I wanted to do, like characters, put them all in a folder, start putting them together in like bunches. Okay, this roughly looks like this picture, and I started grouping them. Then I started thinking about like, who is this character? Like, what could their background be and everything like that? Are they actually going to look like in the picture, or maybe are they, I don't know, had an accident and I don't know, lost a body parts? I don't know, something like that. And I started filling out a list like this. So for all the characters in the game that I'm making right now, they have to have a name, and not just one name. They have to have like family name and everything like that as well, just to give them a context. And also a name tells you so much of like, where's the character from, and so on. It's not just like Jack or John. It has to be something more unique. Age, of course, very simple. Which gender do they, see themselves as? Body types, that's also good for the character artist, of course. Family, often I don't think that we think so much about our character's family. Like, are they alive? Where are they? Are they in the same city as they are? Like, do they go home to the mother every Sunday and eat? Like, think about stuff like that. Disposition, that's, in my case, like, are they extrovert, introverts? Are they controlling, accepting? Like disc, if people know about the disposition thingy, it's kind of like that. What are their fears? What are they most afraid of? Like, what are they going to do, go to lengths to avoid? What are the goals and dreams in life? Like, what would they try to achieve? Not just like, world domination, that doesn't really count. Why do they want world domination? Like, that's kind of a strange thing to have. Like, that's a huge ambition. What do they want to achieve by doing that? What do they like? And not just like, okay, I like shooting stuff. Like, do they like hot chocolate? Do they like the smell of rain? Like, and why do they do that? Do they have some kind of childhood memory maybe connected to that? What do they dislike? Why do they try to avoid? Supports, in my case, is do they support the rebels or the military? The us, that actually comes from Last of Us as well. Because all the characters there, they have people, different groups of people that they are going to go very far to, for example, defend. So some people are, they're just like, okay, this kid is who I'm going to, move Earth and heaven to protect. Some people are like, humanity is my us. I'm going to go to great lengths to ensure that humanity survives. And then sure, some people might die along the way because of it, but as long as humanity as a whole survives, everything is fine. primary color is just for, you know, creating the character. If they have some specific inspiration for the character, I would add that. And on other, I will add, for example, sexual orientation and so on. Like, if that affects how they interact with the main character, I would add that. Also, I would add religion and so on, if that's something apart from the norm, so to speak. So in the end, I would have something like this, with like, and also they will all have some kind of tag. So this is the repentful merchant, just so like you have a catchphrase for the character. So as you see, they have a name, and in this case, a real name, because the name that he's giving people isn't his actual given name from birth. How old is he? Everything like that, as I just mentioned. And the thing about it is that this character, you might get ideas in your head. You can't really see the first picture very well in his head, but you might get ideas when you see this character, like who it is. And I want to turn that around. Like, you get like, okay, yeah, it's probably like that. And what you will realize when you get to know this character is that he has a very dark background. So in this particular case, he hurt his leg as a young man because he was in a duel. And in the same duel, he accidentally killed his friend. He's been very, you know, repentful, as the name suggests, after that. And he has moved to another country and trying to build a new life for himself, but he, you know, he doesn't feel very well. He's taken to eating and drinking to kind of drown his sorrows. But if you actually get to know him, if you like peel off the layers that he has created around himself, you realize that he's actually a really good guy, but he won't let you in until he trusts you. So creating like characters like that, they're a whole, you know, they're not just caricatures or even characters, they're like people. That's what I want to see more as well. Like, don't just, okay, it's a soldier, and leave it at that. Like, what are their dreams and goals? Like, why did they join the army in the first place? Did they do it because they had to, like they needed the money? Or do they actually support their, you know, the cause? Or they're very, you know, pro, you know, the king and really want to defend their country? And or why is that? So all your characters, try to think a little bit further. Here's another example of another character. So she's a rebel leader in this case. Oh, more people are joining. I'm almost done though, but okay, welcome. So she also has like layers. She will have this really tough facade because she is the rebel leader, and she will go to great lengths to defend, you know, the revolution. But if you actually get to know her, she will show you another side. That's why I added like the likes. Like, okay, she likes hot chocolate, and it has to be bitter because she doesn't like sweet stuff, and she doesn't like hunting. She likes animals and stuff like that. That's the stuff that people won't walk up to you on the street and like, yeah, I like animals and I don't like sweet candy. That's the thing that you learn about people after a long while. So when you create your characters, have like the obvious stuff and then the, you know, the good stuff that you learn when you become friends with them. And if you want to do this, if you want to, you know, create more diverse characters, if you want to dig into more mature themes and everything like that, make sure to get it right. And this is hard, but ask people. If you don't feel like you're comfortable, you know, creating characters with different experiences than your own, ask people with the kind of experience. And a lot of times people will be very, very happy to help you. That's my experience anyway with my game I'm making now. Like posting on Facebook like, hi, I want people who can talk about these subjects that I want to talk about. Like, is anyone willing to talk to me? And everyone's like, yeah, this sounds really cool. Let's talk on Skype or whatever. And actually my brother dropped off like 14 books for me. I was like, okay, thank you. So a lot of people are writing articles and everything. Like, there is resources out there. As long as you remember that one person's experience isn't the whole experience. Like, one person's coming out story isn't everyone's coming out story. Just so you keep that in mind all the time. People are willing to help. A lot of people are willing to see more different games, different characters, and therefore are willing to help out creating them. And if you can research the hell out of World War II tanks, I think you can research what it's like to be transsexual as well. We already know how to do research. We should be able to do it in other areas as well. At least so you're not offensive. Don't just put characters in there and leave it at it. Make sure that it's actually respectful. Because not all games have to be Schindler's List, but some games, I would like to see more games like that. I mean, movies like Schindler's List or books like 1984, they stand a test of time. I mean, games right now, we're with a cool thing for, if we're lucky, half a year, and then it's kind of forgotten because something else is out there that's cooler and has better graphics. But if you create something like Papers, Please, I mean, people are hopefully going to talk about that game for many years. You can still play it because their thing is not the hottest graphics, their thing is telling a story that's unique. So if we want to, create that kind of experience as well, we have to go more in that direction. And I mean, the book 1984, it was written in 1948, and it's more, it's more relevant than ever. And I think we can make that as games as well. So let's show that. Let's show ourselves that we can do it, and let's show everyone else that we as an industry are growing up, we are ready to talk about this. So that was my talk. Thank you.